400 responses in order to get a valid sample for this, and we received over 25% more than that. So as a result, we have very robust data that we think is going to allow us to make some really informed decisions about future programming and facilities. With that, I'll turn it over to Brian.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for having us here tonight. ETC Institute is very pleased to have been a part of this project. Tommy, Brenda, Mitch, all did a wonderful job spearheading the project, and it's just a pleasure to work with everybody. More so on the fact that everybody's really bought in. We've done a lot of these projects where people go through the motions. We use a sample survey instrument, mail it out, the results of that. But with this project, we really spent a lot of time developing the survey instrument. Everybody's really thoughtful in the discussion and the development of the survey instrument, and I think it shows in the results. So with that, I'll get going. ETC Institute is a national leader in this type of research for local governments. We've surveyed more than 2 million people in the last 5 or 10 years, since 2008. We help city local governments plan and get good data. And like Tommy mentioned, the data set that we have here is very robust. The purpose of all of our surveys are usually to objectively assess any particular item that the city is interested in. With a community interest and opinion survey, what we did was we wanted to assess usage, satisfaction, and needs for a wide range of community and recreation needs. And we included libraries in that as well, which is a little bit not typical when we do recreation type surveys. But it's nice to include that because as we see in some of the priorities, some of those priorities kind of intermingle. Some of the reasons that people think that the city should offer library and farm services are really intermingled. And it shows just how engaged the community is and how thoughtful they were in the responses. As Tommy mentioned, we received an excellent response rate. It was a 6-page survey. First one we've conducted for the city of La Vista, hopefully not the last. We did it by mail, phone, and online. So primarily, most of our responses would come from mail. We mailed about 2,400 surveys to the community. We received 530 surveys back, which is just kind of astounding. Our sampling procedures are so precise that when we send out 2,400 surveys, we expect to receive about 400, plus or minus 20 or 50 maybe. But to receive 530 is actually really great, and it drops the confidence interval. It doesn't drop the confidence interval, but the margin of error drops to about 4%. So basically what that means is that if we were to complete this survey 100 more times, 95% of the time we would receive the same results. So it's kind of a mean average. Plus or minus 4% on all results. Just kind of a summary of the data. 81% of respondents indicated that the condition of facilities are either excellent or good compared to other available facilities. It's kind of tough to do that. There's 10 of us up here in the podium here. 8 of you would say that either excellent or good facilities that the city's offering. So everybody should be really proud of that. The survey that we administered utilized specific design features in order to include our priority investment rating, and I'll get into that in just a moment. The priority investment rating will weigh the unmet need and the importance of facilities, programs, library facilities, and programs, and it'll give us a really good rating of how to get the biggest bang for our buck out of investing in particular areas. The top 5 priorities that came from the survey for the libraries were book rentals, e-book rentals, computer technology training and resources, programming for children, and programming for adults. For recreation facilities, we found that indoor running, walking tracks, dog parks, fitness rooms, swimming pools, and splash pads were really the most important priorities. And for recreation programs, we found that adult fitness and wellness classes, which sounds like you guys are implementing more as we speak here. Special events, pet family programs, cooking classes, and walking clubs were all some of the most important programs to respondents. We asked respondents to indicate what the principal roles and services they thought libraries and recreation should serve in the community. Supporting educational literacy, of course, came out to the top for libraries. Providing a quiet space for reading and individual study, and providing resources for reading were some of the top responses for libraries. For recreation, we found that safe places for youth, opportunities to improve physical health and wellness, opportunities for recreation, and I think what encompasses everything is that people are interested in improving the quality of life in the city of La Vista. And I think that the results show both library and recreation in the city of La Vista really are doing a good job of that. Some of the sources of information, this is really one of the questions that we started implementing in the last 5 or so years that I really think is important. It's important to gauge how people are responding to information, where they're getting their information from. The reason is that we want to improve usership. We'll find out here in just a moment what prevents users from participating more and using more services. But in order to really get at the heart of that, we need to figure out how we can communicate best with the community. What we found is Facebook and word of mouth are 2 very popular items. So if the city were to bolster their Facebook or social online presence, you could reach a greater number of people that way. But what's really great about this is that the community is so engaged, and we saw that in the response rate. But the citywide quarterly newsletter is the top item for receiving information about library and recreation. What that shows is that just people are engaged in the community. The city's already doing an excellent job communicating with people, and it shows sometimes in both the satisfaction ratings and then also in some of the usage that we saw. Like I said, we did also kind of explored some of the barriers to participation. Being too busy is the top one. We find that in a lot of communities. What that really tells us is that people aren't misinformed. They're not disinterested. It's just that they live busy lives. Kind of in a lot of communities in the area, or a lot of families in the area have children. So people are engaged. They're just oftentimes busy. The other one is not sure what is offered. So again, bolstering that Facebook presence could be an option to maybe remove that from one of the top items here on the list. And then not interested, which are just folks that just purely says it states they're just not interested. The use of private facilities ranked towards the top, and then the hours of operation not being convenient was also there, which is oftentimes common in all communities.
Are those in the order of priority?
Yep, those are in the order of basically largest number of respondents selected that item to lowest number. Not a lot of respondents selected these items, and you can see that in the main report. But these were the top barriers to participation or usage. What we'll go through next is kind of how we develop the priority investment ratings, and we'll go through the ratings for library, recreation facilities, and recreation programs. For libraries, and for all 3 items actually, we asked the residents just to indicate if their family had a need. We asked just simply yes/no questions. 69% of respondents indicated they had a need for book rentals, another 34% for DVD rentals, and then just kind of plateaus from there. Free reference database, online catalog searches, ebook rentals, all kind of begin the dissension there. So what we found is that a large number of households do have a need for book rentals. We then asked to ask residents to indicate how well their current needs are being met for each of these items at the library office. We found the online catalog searches, online material renewals, those were all items that respondents who had a need, their needs were being met very well. Some of the items that their needs weren't being met as well were media production, training classes, language classes, programming for seniors, and those items. But if we look at the tabular data, you may see a lesser number of households actually responded yes to that question. So that would mean that the sample size for that particular item is lower. We then asked respondents, based on their usage, we calculated how much unmet need is found in the community. We estimated the number of total households in the city of La Vista based on census numbers, and then we estimated the total number of households whose needs are being unmet or not well met. We found that ebook rentals, computer technology, training and resources, and programming for adults were about the top 3 items that a large number of households or a large percentage of households' needs were not being met or not being fully met by the city right now. What we then found
No, I'm gonna slow you down
Yeah.
just a little bit so I
Yeah.
can process. Can you go back one more slide?
one more from here.
Yeah. Please. Okay.
And these results.
So when you determine, okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
So we
I'm
start
just
here-
processing the info.
Yeah, we start here with just asking yes/no questions. So respondents are just indicating, do I have a need or don't I have a need? Those respondents that do have a need were then asked, how well is your need being met? This excluded any participants that didn't have a need. For example, if you didn't have a need for online catalog search, you didn't respond to how well your needs currently being met by the city for that item. We then calculate that unmet need rating, and then we determine which services are most important to households. It's great to understand not only who has a need, how well their needs being met, but also what's really important to communities, and that's how we weigh things together in our priority investment rating. And what we found again, book rentals, ebook rentals, computer technology, and resources are really the three items that will have the biggest bang for the buck, is what I say. Investing in these three items are going to help the greatest number of households who have a need for library services. We compared this with some additional surveys that we did for Portal Ridge and Cimarron Woods. We sent surveys to every address in both of those SIDs, just to ensure that we had some comparable data to areas that may become part of the city eventually. What we found with libraries is that most of the services are similar in what they need. Book rentals was the top for all three areas, La Vista being on the left, Portal Ridge in the middle, and Cimarron Woods on the far right. What we also found is that there were a few discrepancies. STEM markers, space and resources for Portal Ridge, and digital magazine rentals for Cimarron Woods were in the top 5, but not in the top 5 for overall La Vista ratings. Programming for children made the list on all three, and programming for adults was very important for our city of La Vista residents. We then did the same thing for recreation facilities. So again, we asked respondents to indicate purely yes, no, do you have a need? We found that these three items at the top, indoor running, walking track, swimming pool, fitness room, were the three items that the largest number of respondents in the city of La Vista indicated they had a need for. We then asked those respondents who had a need for each one of those items to indicate how well their needs being met by the city of La Vista currently. We see a lot more red on this chart, not because that's bad, but because maybe the city's just not offering that currently, or they're seeking from a different provider. We then again estimate the number of households who had a need, whose need is not being met currently. We found that almost 2,000 households have a need for a dog park whose need isn't currently being met. Indoor running, walking track was also at the top of the list. We then asked respondents to indicate how important those items are. Dog park kind of fell, but indoor running, walking track remained the top item for importance. When we shuffle that all out to the priority investment rating, we found that indoor running, walking tracks, dog parks, fitness rooms, swimming pools, and splash pads were the items that respondents of La Vista would most like to see in their community. We again compared this with Portal Ridge and Cimarron Woods. We found that across all three areas, indoor running, walking track was the most important item. Dog parks made 2 of the lists, and fitness rooms made all 3. And then both Cimarron Woods and residents of La Vista are both very interested in a splash pad.
Ryan?
Yes.
Was the Portal Ridge and Cimarron Woods, is that part of our 530 respondents?
No.
Okay.
That is an additional. I think it was, I hate to say, it was at the beginning of the slide.
It was a little over 100 total.
Okay.
It was 103 total, 67 from one group, 36 from another. The results aren't technically significant as a whole, but when you look at how many households are in each of those areas, they are quite significant when we get back to that. And we did that mailing separate from our original mailing. Those folks received the same survey, but we collected those results and kept them completely separate. So we then again did the same thing for recreation programs, and this is really the bulk of the survey instrument were these priority investment ratings. What we found is adult fitness and wellness classes and special events rounded out the top 2 items. Almost 40, well, a little over 40% of respondents indicated their household had a need for both of those programs. We see a lot more yellow, partly met or not met items on this list. Not to say again that the city's not offering those, but it could be a communication gap where people just aren't hearing about these programs. We then estimated how many households in the community roughly would have an unmet need for this, how many households we could help. We found special events and adult fitness and wellness classes because it's the largest number of households whose needs aren't currently being fully met by the city in those 2 items. We then asked importance, which was shockingly low. People just didn't respond very positively to having an importance for programming. So although programming is important to the community, it's hard to say whether or not respondents' need is affected by the importance. But what we found is that there was still some importance to respondents for these programs. And what we found is that adult fitness and wellness classes was really the highest important item. Followed by special events and pet-friendly programs, which kind of corresponds with the dog park item on the facilities list.
For the recreation, for the special events, in your thoughts, what would those type of like special events, what would those be considered?
It would be something like you guys are doing in the tree lighting ceremony recently. That would be considered a special event to us. Tom, Brenda, and Mitch may have a little bit better idea of what they think a special event might actually mean. But anything that the city does that's not planned, outdoor concerts, moving to the park or anything like that, the city may provide just an event for any particular day or during the weekend or anything.
How long is it,
Yep.
So not necessarily athletic related, more community related.
Yeah, we would say athletic events oftentimes aren't considered special events unless it's like a 4K or 5K walk or something.
Okay, so that special events is up there now, high priorities. Can we go back and see where they will be in that? Because I think we'll do an excellent job on the special events.
And again, that could be just communication. What we found is special events is just right in the middle there. So, about 28% of respondents indicated that their needs are being fully or mostly met, but a large percent of respondents indicated that their needs aren't being fully met. And what that more than likely coincides with is just communication. We want to make sure we get the word out for special events, and if people aren't for sure that there's a special event going on, then they may feel themselves that their needs aren't being met for that special event. So it could just be communication.
We also, if you remember, Caseville listed in the big chalkboard where we have people write in what they would like to have. And we have lots of things like wine tasting events or art fairs, those kind of things. I think those would be things that we would consider like special events. Farmers markets, some of those kinds of things were hit with that, so.
Another thing that we find is that oftentimes communities, such as yourself, that are right next to other communities, if somebody knows that an adjacent community offers a certain special event, and this one doesn't, then that can kind of trigger in your mind that my needs aren't being met for that particular event. So special events and things like that are sometimes hard to gauge. But again, communication and outreach can really bridge the gap between needs being met and at least understanding that my need could be met, but maybe I'm just not interested. And again, we found special events that don't fitness along with classes really top the list on the unmet needs. Adult fitness and wellness classes was the most important item. And for the priority investment rating, adult fitness and wellness classes, special events, and prep fitness programs. There was a lot of differences for Port Orleans and some Roundwoods on this, but special events did make the list on all three, as well as adult fitness and wellness classes. But we did find that birthday parties, youth sports leagues, and things like that were also considered important priorities for those two SID areas. Cooking classes also made the list. However, space for cooking was not necessarily as important. And in summary, again, 8 out of 10 individuals indicated that they're very satisfied, or facilities that they're being offered are excellent. I think that the main issue is that people are either just too busy, or they're just not keen on key communication methods. Although you receive the city newsletter, whether or not you open it and read it is another thing. I think that can go into a lot of, the city probably does provide a lot of special events, but whether or not you're actually opening that newsletter and reading it is a whole other story. People will self-report more often, higher rates of their deal, so that can also be a factor here. But again, the main priorities, the biggest bang for our buck items, the items that will have the greatest effect on the largest number of households, or libraries, or book rentals, and e-book rentals, recreation facilities, the indoor running, walking track is really the main item there. And for recreation programs, the adult fitness and wellness classes and special events are really the top two items for programs. So anyone have any additional questions or anything? If you have any questions that come up later, feel free to get with Tommy and everybody, and they can forward me your responses, and I'll do my best to respond.
Your 7,000 plus houses that you're comparing to, are those single family?
Those are just based on the Census Bureau, so those aren't single family only, those are the total number of households based on census estimates. So I think it was about 7,100.
It's about what?
7,100 or so.
Yeah.
And if you find that those numbers are incorrect, we can run the priority investment rating for the unmet needs. And we talked with those.
So are those single family dwellings?
They shouldn't be. They should also include multifamily addresses. So if an apartment complex has 8, that should be included in those numbers. It should be.
The 8 would be included in there, so an apartment complex with 120 units going to be part of that 7,000.
It should be, yes.
Okay. And that did not include any of the houses in our extraterritorial.
No, the SIDs were not included at all.
Okay.
I purely just, alleviated everything except for city Okay. And we can combine all of the data. It is 100 responses, so it would have some effect in some of the priorities I imagine. But I think it's good to use the random sample data and let it stand alone on its own, really to show for itself what it is. And then use the tertiary data, as kind of anecdotal or for planning purposes down the line.
I guess what I'd like to see now is, I thought this survey might give us a little more of this is the type of program we want, not just category. And I guess I'd like to have our rec department go back then, and when they talk about adult programs, list what we do in adult programs, what do we do in kids programs. We hear often from Rose, and Rose, I guess I wouldn't mind if you did this for your staff too, so that we can put those programs against the numbers, or against the percentages, and see what we offer, and then eventually, down the road, we're going to be looking to both departments then for your recommendations on if you think those programs in the adult or the kid or needs to be increased over time. But if we could get a little bit of a picture of what's offered right now, I think that would help me. So.
And I guess if I could, Mayor, I think we've got a lot of really good, useful information as we think about planning and looking at our long range, even short-term things. What are the areas that we could be beefing up? When we're sitting around trying to think of what we should do, this gives us some ideas. Like, you know what? People said they want a pet-friendly program, so maybe we need to figure out how to do that in a different place. It just gives, it kind of just opens the door for us to give us some sense of, okay, people kind of want this, or they kind of want that. I think it will help us in the brainstorming. I think we definitely start with the base of what you've got, but I think you're doing a great job. But I think part of this was we can always do better and try to find ways to connect with more with the citizens. So I think this gives us a lot to work with.
Yeah, and I fully expect, when we do this, when you talk about engagement, Ryan, I fully expect to get more information now from staff. I expect us to look not only at all the programs, but how do we get the word out? That jumped out the page at me. And I'm not saying that that's the fault of what we're doing. I think we do a good job with our social media, with our newsletter. You can't make the citizen open the newsletter.
That's the key.
But we can continue to try and that type of thing, and I think that's what the report shows. And other questions by council, please.
I heard dog park, so.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting that under the additional findings for the library, it was interesting and very positive that of those surveyed, 71% have a library card and use it. I thought that was pretty high, which was, that speaks well that people go to the library and they use they use everything. So I thought that was really neat.
What would be incorporated in book credit? What are they talking about?
All hardback books, softback, paperback, anything in our collection.
So it's none of the school books, right?
If that would be included, any book, physical, traditional book.
We've done a few library type questions before. Nothing to benchmark, nothing that we can average and kind of compare and contrast to, but it does seem like everybody's still interested in the hardback books. And we're talking, Tommy mentioned about this a little bit. E-book rentals is up there, but people are still really interested in getting their hands on something. Although they get the literature and the newsletter, again, it's open. But you brought up something that I did want to mention is that the city's rating on social media usage was well above our national average. So people are engaging, furiously in Facebook, and if the city can bolster and continually update their Facebook page or some other online presence, it could have a dramatic effect.
Yeah, and I think this is going to give us an opportunity to not only have the rec department and the library department to come back with their ideas and stuff, but also our media. How do we capture more of our public? And maybe we do already, but maybe we buy an email list of this is gonna help us know that we're doing everything we can. So, tons of information in here. Ryan really gave the Reader Digest version of it. If you haven't had a chance to look through it a couple of times, I would suggest that you take that time, and then any further questions or comments or anything, get back to staff on that.
My personal note, you would like a hard copy. So I know some people don't like hard copy, some people do, I'm still a paper person. So if you guys want a hard copy, let us know.
Any further questions for Ryan? Appreciate the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.